Monday morning, 6 a.m. Jared, your average high school student, begins his weekly routine of going to school every day. He eats his breakfast and heads to his first class that day.
Alright, don't forget to turn in your essay due tomorrow. There will also, don't forget about your unit test due on Wednesday. It's on Wednesday as well. Don't forget to study for that. Sounds like a lot of work, but trust me, if you plan your time, you'll be able to get it. I'm sure of it. Now turn to page 153 in your textbook. Today we'll talk about Napoleon.
Hey, do you want to come over and play Madden after school?
Nah, I don't think I can. I have too much stuff to do. But I'll let you know later.
Alright.
Alright guys, so your teacher left me a note for today, just a friendly reminder that AP exams are coming up, and make sure to practice for that tomorrow. I won't be here obviously, so your teacher will guide you with that. The materials will be online and the finals next Monday, so just review that as well.
All right, students, today we have our next group project. It's going to be a restorative justice video. It's going to be done outside of class, and we're going to have no time to work on it today, so you're going to need to get in groups and work on it later, okay? Thank you.
Damn, you got a lot of homework. I'm chilling.
Lucky, I don't know how I'm gonna finish all this.
Ring. That's the bell. Here's your backpack, Ollie. So unrealistic.
After a long day of school, now it's time for practice. The stress from school has been building inside him for a long time, and now he has to look to extracurriculars to build his character for college applications.
Jared, what's gotten into you? You're really bringing down the team. You need to get your head in the game, kid.
Jared, you go to your room!
At this point, he is so overwhelmed with stress that he starts to question why he even tries anymore. If he does more extracurriculars, his grades will suffer, and if he wants to get into his top college, he needs to maintain both. He can't hang out with his friends because of school, and his parents are too busy arguing to care. This endless cycle of frustration and stress is starting to get to him.
Ugh, there's no way that I'm gonna get through this day. What are my friends gonna say to me? I'm so gonna fail this test and my grade in this class is gonna tank. So goes that college that I want to attend next year.
Hey, feeling alright?
Not really. I slept at 2 doing homework, so I really didn't have time to study for the test.
Well, is there anything I can do to help you? You want to stay after class or something and figure something out?
Yeah, sure.
So what's going on, dude? Is there anything you want to share?
I've just been overwhelmed with like studying, homework, and I get home pretty late because of practice, and my parents always argue, so I don't know how I'm gonna get through the year without dropping this class or 8 class.
Well, I would be open to hearing some suggestions on how to lessen your workload and relieve some of your stress. Actually, I was trained on something called restorative justice, and I can maybe talk with you and your parents or maybe some of your other teachers to figure out how to give you less work and relieve some of your stress.
I feel like that would be helpful, but I don't think my parents would understand it.
Well, that's definitely a possibility. But even if I can't change your parents' perspective, I can definitely change yours. So don't worry if you do bad on a test. Just keep trying, and you'll do better on the next one. You just gotta believe in
The
yourself.
heavy and endless burden of school builds on students every day. When school is your whole life, it is often hard to see a way out of the arbitrary and repetitive cycle. When teachers validate our concerns as students, it makes us feel as if we are not alone and there may be a way out of the cycle. The school system will not necessarily work for everyone, but through restorative justice, an important conversation will be created to eliminate student stress.
So, Miss Yushin, how many students come to you about stress?
Well, I teach an AP class, and so almost all of them, so that's 60. And then especially during college application time, all of my students in my senior class definitely came to me about stress. So I would say about, all of them.
So, Mrs. McDougall, how many students come to you about their stress?
More than I could have ever imagined. I have students come to me every day, almost every period, during brunch, lunch, after school, and I know that I'm not alone, unfortunately, in this. I know that all of my colleagues have similarly frequent conversations with our students. I've just never seen a more stressed out student body on the whole, unfortunately.
Do you feel that you give your students a fair workload on a nightly basis? And do you ever take into consideration that students have other classes that they have to schedule for?
So I think I try to balance it out. I try to not give too much homework on a nightly basis. I don't really believe in homework outside of reading, right? Most of the stuff I like to do within my class. But that being said, sometimes we just need to push it further. But homework is a rarity for me. And then in terms of taking into consideration, one thing that I learned this year is that with a college senior, you need to take into consideration the application process. And not just the other classes, but their lives outside of school.
Do you feel that you give your students a fair workload on a nightly basis? And do you ever take into consideration the other classes students have to work with?
I hope I do. You'll have to ask my students for a more honest student perspective on that. But I was a very stressed out student in high school myself, and so I think that it's something that I try to consider always when I'm assigning my work. I think because I teach juniors and seniors, I'm able to assign longer term projects more easily than perhaps some of my colleagues who teach younger students. So my goal with all the assignments I assign is to give my students a lot of clarity on what I expect for them and what benchmarks there are along the way. And then I just give them a lot of class time so that they can work with me and also just work so that they don't need to complete as much work at home unless they're like goofing off during class time. So that's kind of the way I tried to do it. I also think that emulates college more. And that's something I'm really trying to do with my seniors, especially, is prepare them to work more autonomously and prioritize what they need to prioritize. So hopefully my students feel the same.
Do you think that each teacher takes into consideration other classes that you have and their classes' workload?
No. Yeah, I do. Like somewhat, some teachers don't care, and some teachers just care about themselves. But then once in a while you get a nice teacher.
Unfortunately not. I've had to deal with certain situations where I was overwhelmed with work, and I was told at the beginning of the year that I could work with my teachers and they'll help with my workload. And when it came to that time, I felt betrayed.
Yes, I think every teacher at Doherty Valley is very loving to their students, and they care a lot about us. And I feel very loved and considered at Doherty Valley, and they definitely do consider our workload, and they definitely try to limit our workload while getting the maximum effort out of us.
I think they consider when tests are and stuff like that, but when it comes to assigning work, not so much.
I think it's a thought that maybe passively crosses their mind. However, I doubt it's something that they truly consider because, I mean, they still continue to give us exorbitant amounts of homework and extra projects that we're supposed to do outside of school. So I think while yes, they might consider it, they're not taking it into account nearly as much as they should be.
When you feel stressed about schoolwork, how do you cope? Do you think you have a good system to deal with stress?
I let stress get the best of me, and I really don't deal with it. I just let it consume me.
Usually I don't handle stress very well at all. I usually just don't do the work, to be honest, keeping it 1,000. But if I were to get stressed, like I would just like talk to somebody.
I think being stressed about schoolwork is something that every student has to go through, but it's something that we all have to deal with. But personally, my method, I go to Safeway, get some tea, I go home and I just study hard because it's not just about the destination, it's about the journey. And I think the journey could lead us to, throughout the journey, we can learn so many new things.
Normally I just sleep, and I'll wake up confused and not worry about school again. But, yeah.
I think I have a really good system because, you know, Doherty is very competitive and at times it can be very stressful. However, I run the school garden and I'm on the improv team here at Doherty, and I think that those are two ways that I cope with stress. You know, it's ways to get my mind off of, you know, schoolwork and biology and testing. It's something that will allow me to be taken away. Also, I love to hang out with my friends, and yeah, those are great things.
Does the academic competition at Doherty negatively affect your stress level? If so, explain.
It doesn't really affect my stress level because I don't let it get the best of me, and I just I worry about myself, and then I try to help the people around me as best as I can, and then help myself.
I think the competition at Doherty Valley, it affects my stress level because I don't know, I feel like at times that I'm like below average or just like average when there's other kids like doing better than me, I guess, and whatnot, and that just like I guess puts more pressure on myself.
I don't think it negatively affects my stress level. I think if anything, it positively affects my stress level because seeing others work hard towards their goal just makes me more motivated and want to work harder as well.
No, I'm not.
You know, well, I could see that being the case for some. I actually prefer the competitive academic climate. I think it pushes me, and I thrive in that kind of environment. That's where I like to be. I like being able to like have other people to compare myself against because it gives me, say, a template to emulate.
Hey, do you want to?
Nah. Damn, you got a lot of homework. Damn, you got a lot of homework. Damn, you got a lot of homework.
So what's going on, dude? Is there anything you want to say?
What am I saying again?
It's not you. I thought, oh.
I think that would be helpful, but at the same time, I feel like my parents wouldn't be able to understand what that would be. Like. Damn, man. Thank you, I appreciate it.
I know you want to get into a top college, but guess what, Jared? College isn't everything.
Josh, if you don't shut the
Well, that's definitely a possibility. But even if I can't change your parents...
Why'd you laugh?
Something make... Well, that's definitely a possibility.
Dude, you need to stop. Just go inside.
What did I do?
Your presence here stresses it out.
No.